Alan Dershowitz was on the Mark Levin show with important comments.
Welcome back, America. We're here with my friend, Harvard Law Professor Emeritus, Alan Dershowitz. Alan Dershowitz, I don't know about you, but this campaign now out of the United States and the State Department and the White House against Israel is really quite shocking and appalling. It's almost as if they've opened up another war front against the state of Israel. What's your take on this?
The United States is allowing Hamas to win. And if the United States doesn't change its policy, if President Biden doesn't get more strongly behind Israel, Hamas will win. It will have accomplished all of its goals, ending the possibility of peace with Saudi Arabia, turning the world, turning academics against Israel, turning the United Nations against Israel. If Hamas is allowed to win, its terrorism is coming to a theater near you. Now, President Biden got it right the other day on Ukraine, where he said we cannot allow Putin to win, because if we allow Putin to win, he'll move into Poland, he'll move into other countries. Why does that not apply as well to Hamas? If Hamas is allowed to win, it will keep its promise of doing it again and again and again. But this time it won't be limited to Israel. It will move to Europe. It will move to the United States. It will move to our allies. We cannot allow terrorism to win. And that's what this administration, by tying Israel's hands, by saying to Israel, we're going to micromanage you, we're going to tell you how many soldiers you can send in, whether you can go into a hospital where they're holding hostages, whether you can go into Rafah, where the entire command structure of Hamas still survives and exists. If those restrictions are placed on Israel, it's an invitation to Hamas to just do it again and again and again. If crime pays, it's repeated. And if Hamas crimes are allowed to pay, they will be repeated. And this time, we will be the targets.
All right, so very powerful words from Dershowitz, the Dersh. At the same time, he's talking about America and America forcing Israel. But the other side of the whole coin is Israel's got to do what it needs to do. You cannot be beholden even to the allied United States. You have to push back against it. And I heard from a lot of congressmen that told me, we wish you guys would just push back on this administration. We'll back you up, but you got to do it. So Dershowitz is complaining, rightfully so, that America is stymieing the Israeli war effort. But from my side, I'm complaining, Israel, you got to know when to push back. You can't allow these guys to push you around. They're not interested in your victory. Maybe they're even interested in the victory of the other side.
The obvious question then is, why is Biden, Blinken, why are they doing this? Is it for politics? Is it ideology? I mean, Blinken brought in this guy, Malley, who is a disaster. What is this all about?
This is all about politics. This is all about Michigan. This is all about trying to make sure you don't lose the Muslim vote in Dearborn, the extremist, left, woke, progressive vote. Look, if the Democrats want to win this election, they're going to have to move to the center, and they're going to have to support Israel. You do not win an election.
All right, so first of all, let's just get that clear, which is like there are Islamic voters in Michigan and progressive voters in like Vermont that want to see Israel weak and the jihad strong. Why do progressives in Vermont want the jihad strong? That's a problem and a conversation for a different time. But the point is that according to Dershowitz, Biden is trying to appease and appeal to those votes and appease those sentiments that want to see Israel weak or even destroyed. Not a good idea to succumb to those whims because those guys are not on the side of Israel. Dersh is trying to make the point that the Democratic Party's got to move to the center. Maybe that's true, but I know for sure that Israel has got to not succumb to the Biden administration.
Election in America by turning against our ally Israel and supporting Hamas. The Biden administration is making a terrible mistake. Look, Biden has a place in his heart for Israel. So does Blinken. I've known them both.
Yeah, I don't know what place exactly that is. Is it the place that supports the Iranian terror regime and it keeps passing them money? Is it the one that keeps stopping us from fighting? Is it the one that wants Hamas to win? So where is that place in the heart? But I guess according to Dershowitz, there is a place in the heart of Biden. But at the end, it really doesn't matter what's in your heart. At the end, what really matters is policy. And this policy is endangering Israel.
And in their hearts, they support Israel. But in their minds and with the pressures they're getting from the extreme left of the Democratic Party, they are violating their own principles, they're violating their own conscience, and they're turning against America's strongest ally in the Middle East. It will hurt America, it will hurt Israel, and I have to tell you, it will hurt the Democrats in the election, and they'll deserve it. They'll deserve to be hurt if they abandon Israel.
Where you and I disagree is on the heart issue. If Blinken's heart
See what I mean?
told him that he supports Israel, he never would have hired Malley. If Blinken's heart tells him he supports Israel, he wouldn't make the public comments that he's making about Israel. If Biden's heart supports Israel, he wouldn't be doing and saying and standing with the king of Jordan, saying what he said and so forth and so on, and saying things behind the scene. Let me just say this. They're undermining the state of Israel to the point where the people in Israel are feeling abandoned by the United States, and I don't blame them. What do you think?
I agree with you.
Well, I don't know if the word abandoned, is that the right word exactly? Betrayed, maybe. And then again, there's like two Americas, right? There's two Americas. There's the pro-Israel America and there's the anti-Israel America, like the New York Times and CNN and all those. Like there are, and campus, there are many forces in the United States and Dearborn, Michigan and the Jihad Squad. There are forces in the United States that are anti-Israel. And there are forces in the United States that are pro-Israel. But most importantly is that Israel's got to gain more independence, no matter what. More independence, so that actually we could be friendlier with our friends and more enemies with our enemies, and have the United States, an important country, as an ally, but not necessarily as a puppeteer.
And when I saw him standing next to the king and not even mentioning that Jordan has killed more Palestinians in Black September and has done more harm to the Palestinian cause and has done more harm to the cause of peace. Yes, they brought about peace in Israel, but boy, they have, during Black September, what they did to the Palestinians, and the idea that somehow Jordan.
I've got to stop this for a second, just disagree on something. Black September was when the PLO was about to take over Jordan and destroy the monarchy. And they did. The monarchy there, the Jordanian monarchy, who I am not a fan of. But I have to call a spade, which is they fought to destroy the jihadist entity that wants to destroy them. Just like MBS executed all these ISIS members who want to destroy the House of Saud. And so, yeah, in the Middle East, you got to push back against the bad guys. We got to use Black September as actually a kind of reality check where we're like, yeah, what you got to do with people that want to destroy your regime, i.e. Israel, i.e. Hamas wants to destroy Israel, is, yeah, destroy them, do a Black September on them, get rid of the Hamas leadership. And so, like, okay, that's the rules of the Middle East. And I don't like the Jordanian monarchy, fake monarchy at all, frankly. But at least that one I respected.
Is complaining about the occupation. Let's remember that Israel was prepared not to occupy a single inch of the West Bank in '67. They sent emissaries to the King of Jordan, to Abdullah's father, and said, don't attack us and we won't even take over Jerusalem. We won't even recapture the Western Wall. And Jordan began to attack Israeli civilian targets in West Jerusalem, and it was only after that that Israel went into the West Bank and captured it. So the entire occupation issue of the West Bank was all the fault of Jordan.
See, Dershowitz, he's so smart and so lovely, but like the way he says things just makes me batty because that was our land. The West Bank and the occupation issue is something we should have initiated anyway. It's our ancestral homeland. It's the heartland of our people. It's not something that we're like holding on to willy-nilly because we don't know what else to do. This is the very heart. That's the greatest thing that Jordan ever did. Probably the best single thing they ever did was attack Israel in the Six-Day War in 1967 so that we could liberate our land from their occupation. And the Dersh here, God bless him, and I love him, but he gets everybody confused because what he just said is, you see, had Jordan not started with us, then there wouldn't have been an occupation and there wouldn't have been a West Bank. And no, man, no, we needed our land back. And when they started that war, that was a gift from God, from Allah, from God, who gave us our land back and helped us liberate our land. We should never be like, yeah, you see, Jordan, you should have never started with us, because if you hadn't, you could have held on to that land. No, they were illegally occupying our land. So Dersh, one of the greats, one of the great people of our time, one of the great Jews, but he a lot of times makes it a little bit confusing unnecessarily.
So let's point fingers where they deserve to be pointed, at Jordan, at Egypt, at Hamas, but not at Israel. Israel wants to be left alone. Israel wants to live in peace. It's wanted to live in peace since 1948, and the world won't allow it to. And now the world is turning against it, and particularly the young people who have no idea of the history. They think of Israel as a colonialist country. It's the least colonialist country in the world. You want to talk about colonialist countries? Talk about New Zealand. Talk about Australia. Talk about other countries where strangers came and took over the land. Israel, the Jewish people are the indigenous population of Israel, and they went back to their homes, and they were willing to accept a two-state solution in 1930.
Wait a minute. So first thing is that first part that Dershowitz said is awesome, which is we're the indigenous people of this land. We're from here. The part that he started talking about peace, I wouldn't talk about peace too much right now. I would just be like, we are a country that has every right to live in this land, and we will fight to the death people who want to destroy us and people who want to take us off our land. We are the indigenous people of the land, certainly. But then when he starts talking about that we've wanted a two-state solution, that we were willing to give away our land, that's just embarrassing. Why would you want to give away your land? And if you're like so proud that you wanted to give your land out in 48 and 67 and all these times, then somebody will just come along and be like, well, why don't you want a Palestinian state now that the Biden administration wants to push forward? And the answer is, we never wanted a Palestinian state. We want a Jewish state in the land of Israel. We want Jews in Judea. So here we go again. See, the Dersh, he says smart things and right things, and then suddenly he makes it so confusing. He's like, you see, we really wanted to give away our land. Will somebody please take our land? That is such a mistaken way of explaining Israel. And it's actually, frankly, not that he's wrong. We did try to give away the land in the Oslo Accords, but we should be ashamed of that. We should be ashamed that we gave away the Sinai, and that we gave away Judea and Samaria, the so-called West Bank, or parts of it. We should be ashamed of these things. And we should certainly be ashamed that we gave away Gaza. People like myself were down there saying, if you give away Gaza, guess what's going to happen? They're going to make a terror state on our land. So Dershowitz, don't sell to the world that we've tried to give away our land. It's just embarrassing.
1948, 1967. It's been rejected every time. This is a one-sided issue morally, and the world just refuses to see it.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey,
I don't know if the world
against
refuses to
Israel.
see it. I think we refuse to make it clear to people. And that's what Israel has to do. It has to make it clear. It has to make it clear that this is our land, and that if we ever tried to give our land away in the past, that was a mistake. And you see, Dersh, the problem is that when you explain it in a weird way, that's why the world doesn't understand it. Because how could they understand that you tried to give away the land and create a Palestine, and now you don't want it? It's all confusing. We have to say it clearly. It was a mistake to ever want to give away our land. It's against logic. It's against Middle East logic, and it's against God, and it's against common sense. Don't let the jihad take over your land. We did that in the past. It was a mistake. We're never going down that path again. This war, the October 7th war, proves that land giveaway is dumb. Let's not do it again. Let's say it a little better, Dersh. And thank you, Mark Levin, for hosting that interesting segment.